The views expressed on this show, interview, or program are not necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. What's the secret of change? We don't fight the old. Instead, we focus on building the new. Welcome to the Table of Change. Come on in and have a seat at our table.
Good evening. We are back. It's Table of Change again. It goes by so fast. It's the 3rd of September. I almost said August. The 3rd of September, and Table of Change is back again in the house. Come on, listeners. Come on, Family Islands. Make sure you call in. It's Table of Change.
Jackie, I can't believe it's another Tuesday. It's really going by too fast. But tonight, we've been talking over the past 2 episodes about back to school. And from back to school, we had Melinda in talking about, the background in terms of back to school. Then we got into the conversation about teachers and parents' role in helping with back to school. And in listening to the different callers and the issues that arise from back to school, Jackie and I decided that we had to do one more episode focusing on back to school. So tonight we are focusing on back to school, but we uncovered that there is a social service issue involved in back to school. So tonight, what we did was we invited two employees from social services. One of these ladies has a bachelor's degree in social services. She's a senior social worker, employed for the past 36 years with the Department of Social Services. And her name is Monique McKinsey. What I like about what Monique McKinsey stands for is her motto. Her motto is to help, share, and most of all, care. The topic is so big, it's so vast that we think we needed 2 members from social services to come in. So the next lady that came to mind was Chief Social Worker. She has 29 years of social work experience. She's married, she's a mother of 2, and a proud SAC alumni. I must welcome Miss Kelly Lockhart-Gayer to the show. We welcome you, ladies, and thank you for being here tonight.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We had so many issues, ladies, in talking about back to school. But with Jackie and I not being an authority on the subject, we felt we had to invite social services in. And what we want to accomplish tonight for ourselves and our listeners is to have a better understanding of how can social services aid in back to school?
Well, the main program that we have for back to school would be the uniform assistance, where parents are assisted with uniform and footwear for students anywhere from preschool to high school. Now, the application process commenced in late June, and it's going to continue until the 15th of September, so there's still time for parents to apply for that assistance.
Wow. Tamara, you know what? The worst thing I could have done was start to speak to these 2 young ladies before. I just think there is so much that we are offering here in the Bahamas for help. There is help out there.
When we say assistance, break it down for me. You can talk to me like I'm 2. So I'm a mother of 1, and I need assistance in terms of uniforms. Did you give us like a dollar amount, or kind of give me an idea of how much you say uniforms and you say shoes?
Uniform and footwear. So we have a different amount for each level. So preschools, the parent would get $120 for 1 child. Primary school is $150. And high school is $180. So that is to purchase uniform specifically and footwear, not underwear and socks and the rest of it, but the uniforms and the footwear they can get with those funds.
So would you give me the cash, or is it some type of credit card, or what do I get when I get it?
Actually, once the client is approved, they would be contacted by our accounts department, who would give them a QR code, and they would go, that's what they would take to the store. There are numerous stores that accept social services programs, and so they would just go to the store and present the QR code, and they would be able to get the uniforms for their children and the shoes.
And if I may interject there also, we also partner with Canoe. And so those persons who are on the Canoe program, their funds are uploaded to the Canoe app. And so when they go to the store, they only have to just pull that app up and present it. Right. So there are two ways the payment can be made.
I'm happy that you said approved. I'm happy you used, because I was just thinking everybody's going to be just getting these uniforms. What qualifies someone? What has to happen for them to be approved?
So a financial assessment would have to be done. The person would need to indicate if they're employed or not. If they are employed, they would have to provide a salary slip or a job letter indicating how much they actually earn. So that is one way that we analyze what's the situation like in the home. We also look at household expenses and other expenses. They may have medical expenses or medical bills. And so all of those things factor into how we assess that home and what is available for that mother, that parent. Once all of their expenses are paid, what do they have left to buy uniforms and footwear? Some people have absolutely nothing. Some people are unemployed and have no assistance. They may have children whose fathers are not supportive or not financially assisting them in any way, and so they resort to seeking assistance through the department.
I know it can be frustrating to get to a place and don't know exactly what it is that you have to show. Now, I know you said the job letter. I'm assuming some type of identification, or
yes,
do you have
definitely.
to show proof of your rent or your mortgage, or what exactly do you have to show?
So before we even get to all of the expenses and the mortgage and that sort of thing, they definitely would have to present a government-issued ID, passport, or voter's card, their national insurance smart card. That's the very outset. That's what they need. If they don't have those, it can stall their application.
Okay.
So once we have that for the applicant, we then need the children's birth certificates, because we have to have some way of showing that this child belongs to this mother. So the children's birth certificates, the children's NIB smart card, and for the uniform assistance, they must present the most recent report card, which was issued in June of this year. So the report card is also a must. And after they've presented all of these documents, the home visit must be conducted by their caseworker, who would then also do the financial assessment as well.
What I'm hearing, and I know I did get excited about all of this, and I am excited, but there's still another side of me that is saying, how do we know when persons are really speaking the truth? Because it sounds like an irresponsible person can go out there and put themselves in debt for silly reasons. And because they know they can get these things, they then come crying to get it.
And that's the thing. We know that you can make $1 million a year and put yourself in debt.
Yes.
So we have to look at each case on its own merit.
Okay.
If the person is saying they have loans, they do need to show us how much is this loan payment, how was the length of time, how many more years or months are left on this loan. And so sometimes they are asked to produce those documents to say when the loan matures, how much is the loan, what was the loan for.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Definitely.
Great.
Can the application be filled out online, or do you have to go into
the applicant can apply online, but all of these documents must be uploaded. So the site is promise.gov. It's PROMIS.gov. But the same documents apply. So they would have to upload all of their identification, the identification for the children, including the birth certificates, the report cards. If they are able to do all of that online, then, like I said, it goes into our promise system, and one of our data entry persons would then look at the application, and the application would be put forward, and then the system assigns the application to a caseworker, and that caseworker would then take it from there.
I have another question. Can a concerned neighbor help someone? Can they? I know they can't apply, or maybe can a sister? Just say a mother they're really distraught and cannot, help with the children. Can a sister or family member sign or apply to help those kids?
Yes, relatives, family members, whomever, they can come in and assist that family.
Like you say, case by case, you just have to feel
Correct.
comfortable enough that those kids are really going to get it.
They can come in,
Okay.
but the caseworker would definitely make contact with the parent
Great.
in order to ascertain the necessary information that is needed.
Tomorrow, I got to get another one in tomorrow. I know you have a lot to say. What about the kids in school, like, who don't have anyone to speak out for them? Can the teachers, tell me more about that. Can they, because I'm sure they can see from the grades, from the children probably not having lunch, who need help. How can that work?
Yeah, we definitely rely heavily on guidance counselors and teachers because they see the children every single day.
Yes.
And so they have been some of our biggest partners in this whole thing, in that they are the ones who would contact us. They would say they notice this child is coming late, or the child doesn't have proper uniforms, or the child is hungry, doesn't have breakfast, comes to school without lunch. And so they start the process rolling because they would refer those matters to us. And then our social workers would go into the school. They would start at wherever they can get the information, and from there involve the parents to see how can social services assist. What's really going on in the home? Why is the child late? Why don't they have proper footwear, clothing? Why don't they have lunch? Why aren't they bringing lunch to school? And so from there, we would know which services we need to attach that family to. Sometimes it's community support where they would have to be put on the food program. Sometimes it means referring them for other services. It may be a matter of counseling for the parent or parenting classes. We do offer parenting classes as well. So it's a whole myriad of services that can help that family, but it takes someone in the community, someone in the school to report that, because if we're not aware of it, we can't do anything about it.
The counseling, is that... Oh, Jackie, don't get yourself in trouble. Is it really...
I know how you go, Jackie. You might as well say it.
Is it aimed to change? Does it really... Do you really make sure and really try to help to change the way they think?
If a child is being neglected in that way, there has to be follow-up by the caseworker, and there would be a monitoring of sorts. So the services are offered first. Once the parent enters into, say, the parenting classes, they would be monitored by those persons who run those classes. And the social worker is responsible for doing follow-up to ensure that things are going the way they should. If they're not, unfortunately, sometimes the child or children may have to be removed from that home temporarily and sometimes permanently.
So do you have parents agreeing for the kids to leave? Like, do you have that sometimes? Because that would really be great.
Sometimes they actually request that.
Oh, my
request
goodness.
the assistance. They feel they can't accommodate the children. They can't manage them. And so sometimes children have been taken into care temporarily, and we would work with the mother to assist her in getting on her feet.
Do they go to other homes, or is just in the children's
It could
home?
be the children's home, or it could be a fostering a situation.
What I would like to see, I know I've visited some of the homes, what I would love to see for children, seniors, battered parents, I would like to see a great, beautiful complex. I mean, state of the art. Because these children, they are the generation. And we talk about stopping crime. If we want to change anything, we really have to. We have to pay more attention to them and make them comfortable. I want them to be comfortable when they go to a home, or we could have a big place where we have people to take care of them and really make it nice.
And that's what takes place.
That's what.
Yes.
What?
We have the child care
Everything.
facilities.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. That's great to know.
All
So
of
the
their
children
needs are
aren't in
met.
one place.
Except,
Wow.
right.
But they're usually grouped according to the age
I feel
in
so
the
proud.
various homes.
That's great. Tamara, I could see you. Go ahead.
the question is coming in via Zoom, and I'm trying to summarize it as best I can. But what the question is basically saying is, in terms of needing assistance. She feels that there are mothers out there that are, focused and doing what they're supposed to do by their children. But her question is, can a mother now that maybe has a child in a private school and paying school fees, but due to a medical issue, find herself now needing assistance for school fees? Or will social services make that mother feel like it was a choice or an option to put that child in private school? And is there anything to assist a working, able mother that's just at a little hard time right now?
Now, social services doesn't assist with school fees.
Mm-hmm.
But if that child who is in private school has a full scholarship, that mother can certainly qualify for uniform assistance.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
has to have scholarship.
It has to be a full
has to be a full
scholarship.
scholarship.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Now, you said something about the report card. Um, in terms of how the child is doing in school, does that have any impact on getting the money?
It doesn't have any impact on them getting the uniform, but it does prompt us to seek out why is this child performing at such a low level, and we would speak to the mothers to find out, have you done anything towards getting tutoring for this child, because a lot of the schools have those services available, and so it just may be a matter of engaging the right person at the school, participating in the programs that the schools offer, and not just allowing the child to fail from there in primary school. We have seen some very good report cards, and we have seen some that were not so good. And so the officers were prying a bit to find out, why is this child performing at this level? And some of them were in sixth grade, about to start junior high. And so those were very concerning. And so we would speak to the parents about that and find out, what is the plan for this child? How are you going to help this child to improve their performance in school? Because it makes no sense to have brand new uniforms and the child is sitting in the class and feeling lost or doesn't understand what's going on or may need some remedial classes.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
The next question,
Well,
Jackie, they have another question on Zoom.
Just
And
one
the
moment.
question is asking,
One
give
moment.
us a definition of what social services considers neglect. If someone wanted to call and what do you say is neglect? To say a child is being neglected?
Well, if a child is not properly attired, they're missing school, they have a medical issue and they've not been taken to receive medical care, if they're left home alone, if they're under, I would say, if they're 14, they may be left for a brief period, but if they're under 14, and under no circumstances is a child supposed to be left alone in the house. And we've had situations where children were home for days at a time with no adults. So those are all forms of neglect that we would look at.
and working
Wow.
the national hotline, we find that many calls come through in those areas.
You have a hotline too.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we just tell the whole Bahamas that number?
322-2763 or 422-2763.
Jackie, in talking to these ladies, I realized we have
We don't know.
Monique has over 36 years. Kelly has over 29 years. And I'm just curious, what type of issues that are arising now that may not have been issues that when you first started in social work here in the Bahamas? What could you share on that with us?
I would say that we're seeing more issues related to technology. Technology has its place, and it has a lot of good, but there's also a lot of negative in that. When I came in, there was no, children didn't have access to tablets and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now they have phones, they have smartphones, they can look up anything on those phones. And the unfortunate thing is they are not being monitored while they're using those devices. And so one introduction to a negative topic,
Yeah.
pornography.
Yeah.
That it's so easy for them to access those things, and that leads into all sorts of other matters, because you see children acting out things that they've seen on TV,
Yeah.
on their phone, on their tablet. They're acting it out with children at school, and sometimes that's how we find out what's going on in the home, or they're being exposed even by the parent. There are some very irresponsible parents who may watch pornography in the presence of the children. And so that exposes them to something that they're not ready to even process yet. And so that leads to behaviors at school, behaviors between their siblings, that causes a whole myriad of problems for that family and for the school.
And so right here, I need to say, Bahamas radio listeners, parents, we can have so many things that's offered, but we as parents, we have the ultimate line to play in it. We still have to make choices of what we're going to do to make sure these things that are here for us, that we use them in the right way. We still have to do what's best for the children.
Definitely.
We can't leave it up to anyone. We still have a big part to play. And if you cannot play that part, what I like, you can humbly, gracefully give the part to another parent to play, just for the sake of the children. Tamara, thank you.
Jackie, we got to take a moment here, because I'm getting reports on the Zoom of how good this school year has started, and really giving kudos to certain schools. NCA, I could see, is one. St. John's is one, for how how receptive the teachers were. Also Centerville Primary and a few other schools. So I really encourage you callers to call in. The number is 325-5403, all the way to 325-5405 to call in, or our toll-free number, 300-8255. And if you have a good praise report on a school, please call in. We just don't want to just air out the bad sometimes. We want to hear the good news too, because I'm sure there are teachers that are excited about this new school year. The kids are excited. The parents are excited. So please do call in and share that information with us. But Monique and Kelly, another question that came across is, how can we, the public, assist you as social services? Because at Table of Change, what we want to get away from is making the problem so big and pushing it off on social services. Got to deal with that. The government got to deal with that. We want to be the village. How can we be the village in this Bahama land and be good customers of social service? How can we assist you?
Okay. As I had started to say before, we can only help if we get input reports from the public. So if you see a child that's being neglected, we need you to report that to us. But as far as the physical needs of people in the community, any civic organization or church organization that has outreach programs, we would encourage that, because social services can only assist to a certain point. We have limits in terms of how much we can offer to a family each month. So if a church organization or civic organization has food parcels that they prepare for the needy, those things can help. School supplies, even tutoring services would help a great deal.
Okay.
Any program like that, any outreach programs which address these needs, any physical needs of the persons in the community, would be a great assistance to social services. You would be a great partner for us.
You know what? You're going to be hearing from me, because I have someone on my mind right now. So the only thing that will come between you helping them would be themselves, because I can see that they need help. So you got me on board for that, and I'm sure there'll be others willing to help with that.
Great.
Something you said about going around to the houses. The inspectors, I don't think you call it, what do you call the person?
Caseworkers.
The caseworkers
would have to conduct a home assessment.
Right.
Yes.
And they can, how often can they visit, like after? Is there someone to just check to make sure things are going well?
Are you referring to the neglect cases, or are you referring to the persons receiving assistance?
No, neglect cases.
Cases? Oh, yes, there would be periodic checks. I know when I was in the child protection area it would be, at first it would be every 2 weeks, and then it would be once per month, and then maybe once every few months. And then we would continue to work along with the guidance counselors and the teachers in the school to help us to monitor to see if, is there any change or is there improvement, that sort of thing. And so based on how that process goes, based on the improvement or lack thereof, it would determine what we do from there.
So it's no dropping by on off time.
Oh, it would be unannounced. We don't announce arrivals.
But they know that it's once a week.
They should expect. We would let them know what's required. So once we become involved, we would let the parent know this is what to expect. We expect you to attend parenting and complete the parenting classes. We expect the child to attend school, not miss school days. Mm. If the child has a medical issue, we expect you to take the child to their clinic appointments. So the parent would know upfront what it is that we expect and that we would be checking periodically to see how things are going.
Now I know, Monique, I could be just going off course with this question. What about people who live so far because it's bus money? You remember when we used to have those big yellow bus for school to take the kids to school? That's no longer. Do you supply anything for the kids to get to and from school? Like, sometimes you have some parents who have to get to work early from 7 o'clock. Is there anything like that?
I think Ministry of Education still have a busing system for kids that's on the outskirts.
Okay.
I think that program is still in there for Ministry of Education, but as it relates to social services, if there are children that are in the institution, yes. But those who are out there in the community.
I guess you're saying if we help with all those other things, you should be able to find
But
some.
the thing is, too, is that children should ideally be in a school that is in walking distance for them.
Within their
That's
boundaries.
right. That's right. You're right about that. But we sometimes want the children to go to school probably closer to our work because, when it comes to time for picking up, that
And
will...
two, sometimes persons have to relocate from the area that they were living in.
Right.
And so there are times the school does not have any space in terms of having the child transferred to another school.
Well, Tamara, it's almost time for a break. Do you have one more question or can I ask my question?
Well, I just want to remind the callers that number is 325-5403, 325-5404, or 325-5405. And of course, toll free 300-8255. If you have a praise report or if you have a question for Monique and Kelly regarding social services, please do call in. Jackie, you got 2 minutes for your question.
So, how do they get the funds? Is it through a voucher? Is it put on their account? What do they use? What do you give?
Which type of assistance are you referring to?
Any assistance? How do they get the funds if you're giving it to them?
So with if it's food assistance,
okay,
there are multiple ways. As Ms. McKinsey mentioned earlier, there's the Canoe app.
Yeah, tell me about the Canoe app. That's new to me. Well, we're going to run out of time.
So I may just quickly say which. It's the Canoe app, the Mobile Assist, and the BOB card.
Like of the Bahamas.
There's also, if they're not using those apps as yet or the BOB card, we give them a written food coupon in the interim until they get onto one of those options.
Okay, so I know it's time for a break, guys, so we'll be right back because this is Table of Change. We're about to change things on Table of Change.
Quality in a service is not what you put into it. It is what customers get out of it. And Table of Change gives us customer service at its finest.
To sponsor Table of Change, I need you to reach out and call 449-9106. Table of Change is a show geared around customer service and how we are of service to others. For sponsorship, 449-9106.
Tune in to Tamara Fox-Smith and Jacqueline Fernando-Moxie for Table of Change. Table of Change, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. right here on the National Voice of the Bahamas.
Whatever should be expected of an insurance company is exactly what you'll find at Harvest Insurance Brokers. And right now is a great time to sign up for automobile, home, group, or life insurance policies. But at this moment, what's really amazing is their newly introduced National Workers Healthcare Insurance Plan, which is a strong and concise medical package designed for retirees or those entering retirement, starting from as low as $275 per month. Harvest Insurance Brokers, located Dowsville and Armstrong Street. Dial 326-808445.
The views expressed on this show, interview, or program are not necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and, by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
We are back on Table of Change. I have a question. I've been full of all the questions tonight. So I'm going to ask Monique this question. Please tell me, what are some of the other services offered by the Community Support Service Division? Can you tell me that?
Sure. There are quite a bit of services offered
Let's
by
have it
Community
all.
Support Services Division. Okay, so we have our food assistance program.
Okay.
And that in that program, well, we have already went over the stuff that the clients would have to bring in order to qualify,
Right.
as it relates to the identification stuff, right? So I'll just go into the amount. One person, $92 a month. Two persons, $116 per month. Three persons, $139. Four persons, $162, and five or more persons, $208.
So you have incidents where a whole house needs assistance?
Definitely, but only one person out of that household can apply. So if we have multiple families within that household, they all need to come under one umbrella.
So to me, that sounds like it has to be a house where everybody is probably seniors or someone is sick and can't work. Because can it be a house with five and no one's working?
Yes, ma'am. Of course.
Is it because some mental issue or just because they don't want to work?
Not that they don't want to work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they are challenged in finding employment, even though there are so many employment out there, right?
Right.
That are available. They would say to you they cannot find employment.
So if someone says that to you, I know it's not your field, but what would happen then?
Well, what we do is we partner with the Department of Labor, and so we would give persons within the household or the applicant what we call an employment exchange card, and they would take that to the Department of Labor and have that stamp, and after 3 stamps, then they bring it back to us.
let me listen. I'm going to say this: Wendy's, McDonald's, but they are always looking for people who work.
Yeah, so we have to understand that even if a person is working, because you can have a household with 5 members in it, and a few of them are working, but they're making minimum wage, and it's insufficient to pay for all of their utilities and purchase food.
Okay.
And then some of that 5 could be children as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that's just one program. We also have the financial assistance program that is offered. And in that, you can apply for assistance with your light bill, which is $600 one time. Water and sewage, your water bill, $600 one time within a year, that is. You can also get assistance for bed, fridge, stove. If you're pregnant and you need baby clothing, you can also get assistance with that. If you had a fire, you can also get assistance in that area.
I think we have a Zoom question.
Yes. The Zoom question is you mentioned the parents counseling or parents classes. The caller would like to know what happened in that class. Give us an idea of what that counseling consists of.
Well, the parenting classes, they have different specialists that come in and speak to those persons who have been referred to that program. So it can range from conflict resolution to various parenting styles and alternatives to physical punishment.
Even financial management, domestic violence, the whole gamut.
Okay. So you can go
When we were going over the show, ladies, we heard different comments, we interviewed different people, and I will be honest with you, Jackie and I were left a little perplexed. And I don't know how you can answer this or what you may think, but somehow we came under the opinion that there's a lack of parents wanting to be parents.
Well, you find that some persons are thrust into parenthood and they were not willing, but they feel, this is their lot in life, but they don't want it or they don't care for it. And sometimes they actually verbalize that. And so that we have cases where parents have actually abandoned their children. They left them with a neighbor for a couple hours, and a couple days later they never came back. And so the police were called, and those children would have been brought into our offices, and we would have to have them medically cleared to go into one of the child care facilities.
Wow.
And some parents would just leave the children to their own devices, and that's where we get the issue of juvenile delinquency and undesirable behavior from children, because they're not being monitored, they're not being supervised, they're just being left to do whatever they want to do because the parent feels that this is not what they wanted for their life, and so they almost rebel in a sense against their own parenthood.
We're also noticing a cycle, and I'm wondering, with all your years of social services, are you noticing a cycle where the mother would have came for assistance? And we're not saying anything is wrong. If you need assistance, please, nothing is wrong with needing assistance, but just a lack of skill. Are you now seeing the mother had that role? Now the daughter is pregnant, and it's like that same household you're going to, like a repeat cycle? Because what we're hearing in terms of parenting, I mean, Jackie and I have just came up with that conclusion on our own. So I'm wondering, in your professional insight, are you seeing like a cycle of the same home happening too?
We do see generations of
Yes, ma'am.
mothers, and the children come for the same assistance, and they just continue to repeat the same pattern unless someone decides this is not what I want for my life, or someone else steps in and say, this is not all that's available to you, a handout or assistance from social services. You can do well in school, you can get a good job, and you can do well on your own.
So
the problem is, we can say that, but children look at what is being modeled for them. They have, the only thing they have is the person in the home, if their mother is acting a certain way and being reliant on the department, then they would tend to do the same thing. It's very hard to veer away from something that's being modeled for you on a daily basis.
So do you ever see where you have that happening and you're able to reach one of them and it turns around?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Really?
Definitely. That's what our caseworkers are there to do, because they see it happening and they can pull especially a teenage girl, can pull them aside and say, is this what you want for your family? Is this what you want for your life? And you just need sometimes to just put the idea into their head, and it causes a change in the way they think.
Man, listen, all the world, we just need to give more love. And it changes more than you can ever think. Because just like how the caseworker can do it, it can be done right in the neighborhood,
It can. In the
Yes.
schools, some
Each one
teachers are
reach one.
really good like that as well. Some
Yes.
teachers are the ones who have the impact on that
Yes.
child,
Yes.
and they cause a change to happen in that family, and they help to break that cycle.
Yes. And so we hope that we could see less of the circles, if we could break more of those circles. Because we know that the poor is going to always be with us. The Word of God said that. And sometimes being poor is not only in material things. It's poor in the way you think. And so
Character.
Yes.
Values.
Character.
Yes. Monique, we keep stopping you. Go ahead with all of those.
No,
Okay.
I stop you. I cut you off because when you said that, I think it's so, you're actually destitute when you are poor in terms of character, when you are poor in terms of pride, when you're poor in terms of just common sense. And I'm not sure how to formulate this question. So please help me, ladies. You got to read between my lines. I know that as a mother, things can be tough. But for me personally, when I hear back to school and the struggles that mothers are having, I know, but only having what the two shirts and the one skirt. But you watch it. What they say, everyone didn't have to know your business, right? Of what was
Exactly.
going on. But I feel that it's somehow acceptable now for a mother to say, I don't have it. I don't have the uniform. I don't have the books. And that's why my child isn't going to school. And I'm trying to figure out, when did this happen? Or what are we doing as a society to make that statement an acceptable statement?
It's not an acceptable statement.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not one at all. So, what we have done from the Horseshoe Drive Center is, as parents come in, we, like Miss Kelly Guy was saying, right? We look at the grade point average. We go out in the community. We see what's happening with these children. And so we say to them, we're going to refer you to Child Protection Services. And so we see for a whole school year, you haven't done much.
Wow.
We're here to help. We're here to help you to get from point A to point B. You're coming all the time on the end of the month to collect a food voucher, but what's happening otherwise? You don't have the family support, whereas the father, and so we try to dig into it, because it's not right for a parent to, at the end of, just before the school began, you now show up to say that you need school uniform. And at times, we find that they don't even have the report card.
Wow.
Did they go to the school to pick up the report card? No. Okay, so parents do have a role in all of this and helping their children, to get from point A to point B. Parents do have a role.
And you social service, they don't require the parents to at least show that they went to 1 or 2 or 3 PTA meetings, because I am just learning the importance of PTA meeting. I met with my kid's teacher one-on-one, but I just learned from someone, and he was a former educator, and he said, PTA meeting is not just about what your kids are doing. When you go to PTA meeting, you can find out what is going on around the school, the type of things your children might be getting involved with. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably something that, you could do, so you could have more people showing up to PTA meetings.
No, we don't. That's not mandatory. But we find that the parents who are attending the PTA meetings are the ones who whose children are doing pretty well. It's the ones who really need to be there that don't go.
Yeah, but I and that's why I'm trying to explain it. He was telling me that not because your kids are doing really well means that you don't need to go, because you still need to go to hear what is happening in the school.
Definitely,
You
yes.
need to go.
Yeah,
Everyone needs
That's
to
a
go.
part of it.
All parents need to be involved.
I used to be so tired. I didn't do a lot of that. I met with my teachers. How is he doing? I just met.
But that's parent-teacher conference. So that's one thing. The PDA meeting is where everyone comes together. So everyone needs to be there because you're giving input.
Yes.
You're giving and receiving. In the PDA meeting.
So parents, you have to change it. Don't be the way I was. Go to those PTA meetings. Make sure you attend those. For confession.
Yeah. It was a confession from the heart, right, Jackie?
Yes.
We do have one more Zoom question. The Zoom question is in terms of Family Island. She's assuming that they would be eligible, of course, for the assistance that you're giving everybody else. But she says that what happens to that mother that may not be able to make it to Nassau to now use the funds to purchase the uniform? How do you help with that?
Now, I can't say specifically because I would need to know which island, but I do know that on certain islands, like for instance, I had an opportunity to work on Acklands for a period, and we found that there, because it's a small community, the primary school in the settlement that I visited, the principal at the school was a seamstress. And rather than purchase the uniforms, she asked the department to purchase the fabric, and she made all of the little girls' uniforms in that school.
Wow.
So there are ways to work with the family islands, but it depends on which island. Like that island, they don't have stores and things where you can go and purchase a uniform. Right. But because she volunteered her service, she volunteered to make one jumper, one skirt for every single child in the school. Wow. And that was how she utilized the department's assistance. Now, other islands, like Grand Bahama, would have stores, but I'm not certain for other communities.
Elutra,
for the more remote ones. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but
they should have stores.
So what about people, if they're on the Family Island? The Family Islands are sometimes really small. And I think social service, you try to keep people, not for you like when everybody don't know that they're getting services. You try to keep them, because I think you give them a card now so they can still feel.
So, yeah, because no one would know unless they are in your space.
Right.
If someone has a BOB card from the department or a food coupon, they would have to really be in your personal space to see that.
Okay. So what about if I'm on a small island and I don't want to go to the social service department on the island? Well, I figure if you could buy a ticket and come to Nassau, you probably don't need it.
But see, that's the thing. If you want assistance and you live on the island, the social worker on the island would still have to view your circumstances. They still have to do your home assessment.
Right, so it has to be.
So you can't really get around it like that.
So with the uniforms, with the card, if they get the funds on a card and they're not going to Nassau, can they then send the card with someone else to just get it? Saying that, like Tamara was saying, they can't travel to Nassau. Can someone else use it to get it for them?
Well, it's in that person's name.
Oh, it has the name on it.
Yes.
Oh, and then you have to show the ID.
But it isn't the BOB card. It's only the app that they may be able to use from their phone. And see, that's on that person's phone.
So
so you see,
pull that up.
Really,
but you see what's
trade.
Right. But I mean, if they're getting so the uniform is not on the card and
it's
stuff
like
that.
It's not on the card.
No, not on the BOB card.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's on the app.
On the app or that QR code that's given to them.
And anyone can take it in and get it.
If it's
but ladies, didn't we say earlier that a relative could apply?
They can apply, but not take the person's coupon or take the person's phone and go and make a purchase. Now, we do have persons who are disabled and they may need an agent to act on their behalf. That's a little bit different. Even though a relative can apply, the parent would still have to be the one. It's actually put in the client's name.
It would still go
So
to
it
the
can't
parent's
be in the
name?
neighbor's name. It has to be
But
in
they're
the
irresponsible.
parents. No. I was looking at it in terms of if you're trying to help the person to get the
Right.
assistance, not that they're unable to, but they may be timid or they may be intimidated.
Okay.
You just give them a push, and then the caseworker will take over. But that assistance would still be in the parent's name, not in the neighbor or the relative's name. Like I said, unless the person is disabled and they can't move around and go to the store, then they may be assigned an agent who would do the purchasing for them.
I'm still back on the, maybe this could be something if it's not happening. I'm still back on Tamara's question, but you were saying, because if I'm on the island and I'm not traveling, I don't have enough money to travel, and the uniform is not on the island. Like most times the uniform is not there.
Okay.
How can they get it if you're saying that they cannot give the card to someone? How would they be able to get it?
If they live on the family island and they come to Nassau and they're just passing through, then we would refer them to the family island desk. We don't usually go ahead and process those
No, the Family
persons.
Island, we have a Family Island division.
We have a Mr. Cox on the line. Okay, I'm sorry, but I think we took too long to get to Mr. Cox. So, Ms. Monique, you can go ahead. You were saying?
I was saying that if those persons are actually residing on the family island and they just came to Nassau just for a visit and they head right back, if they need any assistance, we would refer them to our Family Island Division. We have a Family Island Division here, and we refer them to those social workers for assistance.
Oh, I'm saying if
I'm thinking if they're living on the family island, they can seek out assistance at the department's office on the
On
family
they
island.
would
And
help them get it in.
I'm sure they
Okay,
would.
okay. I just want to know there was a way to do it.
Yeah, on that family island. Basically, social services is on
It's
basically
on, I think we are on every,
every
island.
island.
Yes. We have Miss Robinson with a question.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, you can hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I'm probably of this on mute. Okay, I'm not too long, joined the show, so picking up, and this question may have been asked before, but can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. This question may have been asked before, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway, because I just kind of picking up on some. Is this with the social services?
Social services, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to ask Ms. I didn't get the name. How do you mitigate the abuse of the various assistance? I think you mentioned the clothing or the uniform and the food stamps and whatever else. How do you mitigate the abuse of the various assistance that are given to social services?
How do we mitigate?
How do you lessen? Because there are risks in everything that we do, and I'm assuming that this is no different. Social services might be one of the higher risks, because how do you manage? How do you strategize against or putting into place some strategies to lessen the abuse of all of these assistance that you're given?
Good question.
Okay, so one of the things that we had mentioned before was that we have to, if a person is employed, for instance, and they say they're making a certain amount of money, we don't just take their word for it. They have to bring in a job letter or a recent salary slip. All the persons in the household who are employed would have to do the same. And if they're unemployed, they would have to be registered with the Department of Labor. The food coupons and the other assistance that is given to the client, it can only be used by that client. And we do have instruments where we put special marks on the coupons so that it can't be duplicated.
Okay.
And the person has to have identification when they're presenting those food coupons. They have to show identification when they go to the food store to prove that they are supposed to be in possession of that coupon.
Gotcha.
The food stores are very vigilant about that. And so even if it's missing a stamp, and sometimes that may happen in error, they would send that person back to the office to have that coupon stamped.
And then, too, you do have those persons who try to evade the system.
I am going there.
Yeah, we do have those persons.
Most definitely.
Right? And so initially we may not come to realize what's happening, but eventually, usually it comes out.
And then sometimes I think we even have people within that sometimes assist with things like that, with different clients. And so we have to be careful of that as well.
Yes, because
manipulating the
against
form.
abuse.
Yes.
Because
yes.
okay, if I may interject right here, we've had persons who would have. I'm not talking about the food. For the rent assistance, for example, we've had persons who would have brought their sister acting as the landlord, a friend acting as a landlord, and because we do due diligence, we realize that there's something is not right with this, and so we probe more and we do more investigations, and then we'll find that this person was trying to evade the system.
Yes,
and that has caused other requirements to be put in place. So a person who is presenting as a landlord, they don't just give the client a letter; they actually have to bring in a letter of good standing from Inland Revenue, demonstrating that they are in fact a landlord.
Yes, yes.
So they have to bring a tax compliance certificate.
So those persons who are actually caught with the offense, are they put on some stop list, or how do you handle them?
In the past, I know persons have been banned from receiving assistance for a period of time. I'm not aware of, I know that police were involved in some instances, but I can't say for certain if those matters went all the way to prosecution. But we've had meetings with some of those persons, because we had a situation with a landlord, someone who was perpetrating to be a landlord and was found out. And so both persons, the person who was pretending to be the landlord and the client, they were both banned from the center.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson, for calling in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Tamara?
One question from Zoom. She's been waiting for quite some time, so I have to ask this question. What impact did COVID have on social services? And are you seeing an increase, or what did COVID do to, add more work to social services?
Well, I can definitely say that what we see now is a great amount of homelessness as a result of persons not paying their rental payments, making their rental payments during COVID. And as a result, once the country began to get back a little steady, the landlords actually evicted those persons. And to date, we still have some of those persons in the shelter. You try all you can to, try to empower them, to let them know the assistance is only temporary, but you still have a few of them who are still seeking shelter assistance as a result. But that definitely, we saw an increase in that area, homelessness.
Jackie, this show was really needed. But one of the things I want to make sure the listeners really got out of the show is the fact that there is assistance. You have uniform assistance, you have school shoe assistance, and you just have to go down to social services with your ID, your NIB card, the child support card to get the assistance. So we brought the issue of needing the assistance for back to school. We brought it to the table, and now social services is here to aid and give the assistance needed to the parents with back to school. This topic is so timely, and Monique McKenzie, Kelly Lockhart Gay, I have to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show, and thank you for your years of dedicated service to social services. I just can't imagine 36 years and 29 years, and you have to do this with a heart. And you know, Monique, when you said help, share, and most of all, care, we do applaud you, ladies, for the job you're doing by our Bahama land. And we know how important the job you have. And we'll continue to pray God's blessings over you and keep you and protect you as you sister needed inside this Bahama land. We want to thank all of you for listening to Table of Change tonight. Thank you for calling in. Monique or Kelly, you have anything you want to close out with?
I think just knowing that more people are becoming aware of what's being offered is good.
And two, what I would like to close out with is to remind the public that we do have we have 4 centers, 4 community support services centers. Just find that center in your area. We have the Horseshoe Drive Center, we have Robinson Road Center, Wolf Road Center, and the Fox Hill Center. You just find
either one.
No, not really either one. You gotta be within your boundary. Okay. Correct.
Stay within your boundaries, Jackie.
Yes. So, Table of Change. I'm Jacqueline Fernanda Moxie.
Of Table of Change, on behalf of myself, Tamara Fox-Smith.
Jacqueline Fernanda Moxie. Good evening.
Tune in next week. Table of Change.